I thought we were trying for a baby. I took prenatal vitamins, counted days, prayed every month. Then I found out he had a vasectomy 2 years ago. When I asked why, he said, "I wanted peace." "You're too much." I didn't yell. I just stared at him. And 3 days later, he woke up to discover what I had taken from him without saying a word. We got married in 2017. I was 28. He was 30. His name is Troy. We met through friends at a 4th of July cookout just outside Columbus, Ohio. He made me laugh, and I liked how grounded he seemed. Back then, I thought he was the most mature man I'd ever dated. We dated for about a year before getting engaged. Married 6 months later. It was a small wedding, courthouse, dinner with family, nothing flashy. We were both practical people. The first few years were good. We bought a modest house together on the north side, fixed it up ourselves. I painted the living room. He tiled the kitchen. We fought like any couple, but we always made up. Or at least, I thought we did. In 2020, I brought up the idea of trying for a baby. It wasn't out of nowhere, we'd talked about it before. He always said, someday, but I wanted a real plan. I was turning 31. I didn't want to wait until I was too old or tired. He nodded. He said, "Okay, let's do it." That was it. I thought we were on the same page. I downloaded an app to track my cycle. I started taking prenatal vitamins. I changed what I ate. Cut back on caffeine. Read parenting forums. Got blood work done to make sure everything was okay. I never pressured him. I was excited. Every month I waited. Every month I hoped. And every month, I got the same result. Negative. He stayed calm through all of it. Too calm. At first, I saw that as supportive. But then it started to feel like he didn't care at all. He never asked about my doctor visits. He didn't want to track anything with me. When I cried in the bathroom after a failed month, he'd give me a quick hug and then go back to his laptop. After 2 years of trying, I finally told my doctor I was getting scared. She said it might be time to get Troy tested too. I went home and brought it up. He was eating leftover pizza at the time, watching some show on Netflix. "Do you think you could go in for a test? Just to make sure everything's okay?" He shrugged. "Yeah. I guess." But he never made an appointment. And whenever I asked about it, he brushed it off. "Work's been nuts." Or, "I don't like doctors." Or, "You're overthinking this." He had an answer for everything. But none of them were real. At some point I started wondering if I was going crazy. Was I doing something wrong? Did I miss my window every month? Was it the vitamins? Was it stress? I felt like I was breaking, but I didn't stop trying. The real red flag started about 6 months before I found out. He started timing sex differently. He'd avoid being home when I was ovulating. Or he'd initiate the day after. I noticed, but I didn't want to believe he'd be that cruel. Then one night, we were at dinner and I mentioned that a friend of ours had to go through IVF. I said something like, "At least we're still trying naturally." He went quiet. His eyes shifted. That was it. I didn't push it right then, but I knew something wasn't right. A few days later, I waited until he left to meet some guys from work and I went through his desk. I never do that. I hate snooping. But I had to know. He kept a locked drawer in the bottom of the desk. I never thought anything of it. He said it was for boring paperwork. The lock wasn't strong. I opened it with a bobby pin. There was a manila folder labeled Confidential, Urology. My hands shook when I opened it. It was a vasectomy report. With his name. Dated 2 years ago. My legs gave out. I sat right there on the floor. This man had watched me cry, watched me beg God for a child, watched me take pills and track every single day like my life depended on it, and he knew there was zero chance it would ever happen. He let me believe it was me. When he got home, I was still sitting on the couch. I had the folder in my hands. He walked in, looked at me, and without blinking said, "You went through my things?" That was his first response. Not guilt. Not regret. "You lied to me," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. He sighed. Sat down in the recliner across from me. "I wanted peace," he said. "You're too much with all this baby stuff. You were obsessed." I didn't say anything. I just stared. He leaned back, like he'd just confessed to throwing out an old shirt. "I was tired of all the pressure," he said. "You weren't fun anymore. Everything became about your body, your temperature, your mood swings. I couldn't take it." I stared at him for what felt like hours. He looked annoyed that I wasn't saying anything. That was the moment I stopped feeling like a wife. And started feeling like something that had been used up and thrown away. I went to bed without another word. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't touch him. 3 days later, he found out what I'd done. 3 days later. He found the garage empty on a Thursday morning. Troy usually left for work around 7:15. He'd go out in the garage with his coffee, peel off the cover on his Harley, and take his sweet time revving the engine like some teenager. That bike was everything to him. He cleaned it more than he showered. He named it Roxy. It was the only thing he took real care of. So when I heard the door to the garage creak open, I just sat on the couch with my tea, waiting. Then I heard it. The silence. The kind of silence that hits right before a storm. Then the door slammed open. Where the hell is my bike? I didn't even flinch. I took another sip. "Gone," I said. His eyes were wide. "Gone? What the hell do you mean gone?" "I sold it," I said. Calm. Clear. His face twisted. "You're joking." "Nope. You can't do that. That's mine." I turned my head slowly, locked eyes with him. "Title's in my name. You said it'd help your credit. You remember that?" He went pale. He knew. He tried to grab his phone, probably to call someone, or look at something, I don't know. But I stood up. "I sold it for cash. No paperwork. It's gone. You had no right. You had no right to lie to me for 2 years." We stared at each other like strangers. I think that's when it hit him. I wasn't the version of me he thought would stay quiet forever. I left the room. Let him scream. He didn't go to work that day. He called his brother. Called his friends. Ranted to anyone who would listen. I didn't care. I had more coming. That weekend, I went through our bank accounts. I noticed weird transfers. Small amounts, $50 here, $120 there, all going into a separate account I'd never seen before. It was under his name only. I printed it all out and brought it to our next conversation. "You hiding money too?" I asked. He snatched the papers out of my hands, tried to act like it was nothing. "I was saving for emergencies." "Funny. You didn't think 2 years of lying about your vasectomy counted as one?" He didn't answer. Just stood there grinding his jaw. I filed for divorce the next morning. He was shocked. Thought I was bluffing. Thought I'd cool off. But this time, I wasn't just mad. I was done. Troy's company had a strict code of ethics policy, especially for people in management. He was a team lead. And you know what else his company had? A policy about personal medical information being used dishonestly during benefit enrollments. Guess what Troy did after his vasectomy? He still selected family planning insurance coverage for 2 straight years. Claimed the higher tier benefit. Guess who I anonymously reported it to? I didn't expect much. But 3 weeks later, he was suspended pending internal review. He came home that day, didn't say a word. Just kicked his shoes off and stared at the wall. I didn't ask what happened. I already knew. His parents found out I never wanted to get his family involved. I kept quiet out of respect. But he made one mistake. He called his mother and told her I was going through a mental breakdown. Said I'd sold his bike out of spite and was trying to take everything from him. So when she called me, angry and confused, I told her everything. I even emailed her the scanned paperwork from the vasectomy. Told her what he said to me that night. There was a long silence on the phone. Then she whispered, "I didn't raise him like this." She hung up. 2 days later, she showed up at our house. Alone. She handed me a bag of old photos and a card that said, "You deserved better." Then she walked in, slapped Troy across the face, and left without a word. I wasn't doing this out of revenge for just the bike, or the money, or the lies. It was bigger than that. He watched me suffer. He watched me question my body, my worth, my sanity. I had one last move. He had been seeing someone from work. I wasn't sure at first, but the way he was always texting at night, always flipping his phone over when I walked in, it added up. So I waited. And then one day, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed twice. I looked. A message from a woman named Kelsey. "Did you tell her yet?" You know I hate sneaking around. I took screenshots. Printed them. Emailed them to myself. I didn't confront him. I didn't ask questions. I waited. I showed them to my lawyer. We started building something much bigger than a basic divorce. The thing with secrets is they don't just sit still, they rot everything they touch. Once I pulled one thread, the whole damn thing started unraveling. I handed the screenshots to my divorce lawyer. She was quiet, professional, sharp. She looked at the printed text from Kelsey and said, "You realize this helps your case for fault-based divorce in Ohio?" I nodded. I'd done my reading. Then I told her what I hadn't told Troy yet. "I think he's been using my identity. Financially." Her eyebrows went up. "What makes you say that?" "There's a credit card in my name. I never opened it. It's tied to an email address I've never used. I only found out when a collections notice came to the house. We ran a full credit report. There were 3 cards. All opened in the last 2 years. All maxed out. All in my name. He used my social, my info. Probably from old paperwork we kept in a filing cabinet. One card had charges from auto parts stores and motorcycle gear shops. One had charges from fancy restaurants I never went to. The last one had monthly charges to a luxury apartment building downtown. I asked my lawyer, "Can we use this too?" She said, "Absolutely." And just like that, Troy wasn't just a liar. He was a criminal. I was planning on never confronting her. I figured she was just another clueless girl. I blamed Troy, not her. But then something strange happened. She messaged me. From a new Facebook profile. No mutual friends. Her message said, "I'm sorry to bother you. I didn't know he was married. He said you were divorced. I didn't find out until last week." I stared at the screen for 5 minutes. My heart was racing. I replied. We ended up meeting at a diner on a rainy Tuesday. She was young, early 20s, nervous, had that apologetic look girls wear when they've been dragged into something ugly. We talked for 2 hours. She told me they'd been seeing each other for over a year. He told her I was his bitter ex-wife, who still lived in the house because he felt bad kicking me out. He even told her I had cheated on him. Claimed I was obsessed with having a baby to trap him. She cried when I told her the truth. When I showed her the vasectomy papers, she just shook her head and whispered, "Oh my God." Then she told me something else. He's been talking about quitting his job and moving. Said he's thinking of heading out west. That he might just disappear for a while. That changed everything. If he quit his job and vanished, I'd be stuck paying for everything he ruined in my name. I thanked her. Told her to block him. She did, right there at the table. A week later, he came home with a cardboard box in his arms. He'd been fired. Not laid off. Not downsized. Fired. They found out about the fraudulent benefit claims. And someone tipped off HR about the affair. With screenshots. Guess who gave them the screenshots? I didn't even look up when he came in. He stood in the doorway like a lost dog. You got me fired. No, I said, flipping a page in my book. You got you fired. He stormed off. I let him. But later that night, I heard him crying in the bathroom. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. Of course he did. He must have known the walls were closing in. He logged into our joint savings and tried to transfer out over $18,000 into his personal account. But I'd already been to the bank. Put a freeze on the account. Flagged it. Took half out and moved it into a new account under my name only. The bank called me right after he tried. I laughed. I couldn't help it. He confronted me in the kitchen that night. You froze our money? Our money? He didn't say anything. You lied. You cheated. You used my credit to open cards. You stole my future. You think I'm gonna sit back and let you take what's left of my peace? I was trying to protect myself, he said, voice shaking. You should have thought of that before you signed the consent form for a vasectomy. We ran a background check, just to be thorough, she said. Okay? There's something you should know. Your husband legally changed his last name 10 years ago. His birth name is attached to several court records. What kind of records? She paused. 2 protection orders. One from a former girlfriend in Arizona. One from a coworker in Florida. My stomach dropped. I had no idea who I'd married. None. After everything came out, the cheating, the lies, the credit fraud, and now this hidden past, I felt like I had lived in a fake life. My marriage wasn't a marriage. It was a setup. I had given years to a man who looked me in the face every day and pretended to love me, while secretly tearing me apart behind my back. But I wasn't going to walk away quietly. We could have settled. My lawyer said he'd probably want to. He had no job, no bike, and now a pile of legal trouble catching up to him. But I said no. I wanted it public. I wanted it on record. So we went to trial. The courtroom was small. Beige walls. No emotion. Just cold air and legal talk. He looked rough. Unshaven. Cheap suit. No confidence left in his walk. Kelsey wasn't there. His mother wasn't either. No one was. But I brought everything. The vasectomy records, the screenshots from the affair, the bank statements, the fraudulent credit cards, the HR documents from his old job, the protection orders under his birth name. My lawyer laid it all out, one by one. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic like TV. But it was devastating. When they asked me why I was seeking full financial control of all shared property, I told them the truth. He made me believe I was the problem. He ruined my body with stress. He broke me emotionally. And when I begged him to help, he smiled and told me I was too much. Then he stole my money, my name, and my time. I'm here because I won't let him steal anything else. He didn't look up once. The court ruled completely in my favor. Full control of our home. He was ordered to repay the credit card debt he opened in my name. The remaining savings were split. After I recovered my half first, he was barred from opening any new accounts using my personal info. I kept the car, and all rights to any shared property, including furniture and electronics. He was denied spousal support due to deceptive and fraudulent conduct. The judge even recommended the DA review the identity theft for possible charges, but the biggest blow? His professional license was revoked after the trial. He had worked in a regulated tech field that required ethics review boards. And after his employer submitted their findings, the board stripped him of his credentials. He couldn't legally go back to his old career again. A few weeks after the divorce was finalized, he came by. He knocked on the door like nothing had happened. I opened it just enough so he could see my face. "I lost everything," he said. His voice was hollow. "I have nothing left." I waited. I just wanted peace. Those same damn words. "You didn't want peace," I said. "You wanted control. And now you have none." I shut the door. Locked it. He stood there for a minute, then walked away. That was the last time I saw him. I changed everything. My last name. My email. My phone number. I sold the house. Bought a smaller place in Worthington. Bright, clean, quiet. No memories. I started therapy. Took a long break from dating. Focused on healing. On myself. I started volunteering with a local organization that helps women spot financial abuse and manipulation in relationships. I told my story in private meetings. Women cried. Some left their partners after hearing it. Others finally realized what was happening to them. And a few months ago, I got the biggest shock of all. I was pregnant. After everything. I had stopped trying. I wasn't even in a serious relationship. I was seeing a man casually. One who respected my space, my past, my pain. We were careful. But life had other plans. When I told him, he was stunned. But happy. Supportive. And for the first time, when I saw those two pink lines, I didn't cry from pain. I cried from relief. As for Troy, he left Ohio. Rumor is he's living in someone's basement out in Indiana. No job. No degree that matters. No bike. No money. Kelsey filed a restraining order against him after he showed up drunk at her work. His mother cut contact after he asked to borrow money. She told me she gave him one chance to be honest. He blew it. The fraud charges are still pending. Turns out when you play the long game of lies, eventually you run out of moves. He said I was too much. But in the end, I was just enough to destroy the life he built on deception. And now? I'm finally free. I'm finally whole. And I've got peace. The real kind. The kind you earn. The kind he'll never know.